If you are shopping for a home in Dripping Springs, you might be surprised that a $600,000 home in Headwaters versus Cannon Ranch or versus Heritage could cost you thousands of dollars more or less on your overall expenses each year. Now, this is because the neighborhoods are either part of a MUD, a PID, or neither. So in this video, I'm going to explain what a MUD and a PID is, whether or not you should be worried about them or try to avoid them, and what it overall means for you when you're deciding to purchase a house. So one of the biggest mistakes I see home buyers make, especially if they are first-time buyers or they are buyers who are new to Texas, is that they just focus on the purchase price. Maybe they have a pre-approval letter and they say, okay, I can get a house that's, $700,000. But what they don't realize is that every single neighborhood has a different tax rate, and some have hidden fees that are not part of the tax rate called PIDs. So we always try to help our clients see what the full picture is within each neighborhood. So let's start with MUDs, because these are very common, honestly, not just in Dripping Springs, but all over the city of Austin. Anywhere outside the actual city limits, most of the neighborhoods will be part of a MUD district. So a MUD stands for a municipal utility district. Think of it as basically like a water company. So the reason they're created is that when developers are first developing a big master plan community, they have to pay for all the water lines, the sewer system, the drains, the roads, utilities, all those different kinds of things. And they have to pay that cost up front. If they did that, they would have to raise the prices of homes significantly. So instead, they create a municipal utility district, and that district has taxing authority in that area. So a lot of times newer construction communities can have really high property taxes because a portion of that tax rate is paid to that MUD. So for example, Headwaters has a MUD. Their tax rate is somewhere around 2.7%. I've seen some newer communities that have as high as like 3% or so, which is kind of extreme. Now, generally over the years, as the neighborhoods get built out, the tax rates may inch down a little bit. That's one difference of why some tax rates are a little bit higher in other communities. It's usually because they are part of a MUD and because the community is newer. Now let's talk about PIDs, because these are really deceptive and sometimes people don't even realize they exist. So an example of this is Heritage in Dripping Springs. They advertise a low tax rate of about 1.7%, but they have a PID, which stands for a Public Improvement District. So a Public Improvement District is also going to pay for things like roads, landscaping, parks, trails, entry features, and community amenities. But one of the big differences between a PID and a MUD is that a PID is not part of your tax rate. It's a separate assessment that is a fixed amount that you just pay every month. So for example, in Heritage, you might have, this low tax rate of about 1.7%, which sounds really good, but then the PID might be an additional $300 or so per month. So in essence, it's like having a higher tax rate. You just need to understand what all your fees and monthly payments are before you go under contract there. Now, the benefit of a PID is that it doesn't change. So if your home value goes up with a MUD, your tax rate is going to be, high as well. So you'll be paying higher taxes when your value goes up. But with a PID payment, it's not part of your taxes. So it doesn't matter if your home value doubles over 10 years, that PID payment stays the same. So in that way, a PID is a good thing. They also usually have an end date, and in some cases you can go and pay it off in full in advance and not pay as much interest over the years. So in that case, the PID is a little bit different, but definitely you need to understand before you sign a contract in one of those communities and think, oh, the tax rate's so low. It's not exactly as cheap as what you think. Now, does this mean that you should not buy in a neighborhood that has a MUD or a PID? Absolutely not. Like I said, anything that's out in the suburbs, especially newer communities, are going to usually have a MUD or a PID. Now, the benefit of that is that you usually have some nice amenities. You have these beautiful master plan communities in there. And so that's what draws a lot of people out. And so I've lived in communities like Sweetwater. I live in Provence now, and I helped a lot of clients buy in just newer construction communities. And so it's just part of the deal. Now, if you're looking for lower tax rates, we can definitely help you shop by lower tax rates. But just expect there's a trade-off. Usually homes that have really low tax rates might be in older established communities. And if you want that new build with all just the fresh filling, the modern look, and all the bells and whistles on amenities, that tax rate is going to be a little bit higher to start with. So the goal is just to understand the total value. What are you getting in return? And just decide, is it something that you can reasonably afford in your budget? Now, there are some communities, for example, there's Cannon Ranch, where it doesn't have a PID or a MUD. So you just get to enjoy that really low tax rate. Again, it's around 1.7 or so. That's a huge discount. Now, on the flip side, it doesn't have any amenity centers. It just has some picnic tables, maybe a little bit of trails around there, but that's a super low entry rate to get into Dripping Springs if you're trying to keep it affordable. So again, when we're helping our clients search for neighborhoods, we want to factor in not just your budget, but what does your budget look like in different tax rates? What does it look like with a PID? So you know exactly what you're getting and what's a priority to you. Do you care about all the amenities? Are you okay with a little bit older home? We can definitely help our clients search by tax rates and narrow it down so you're looking for ones that are maybe under 2% or under 2.5% or so. So it's definitely something that we just want to make you aware of, not to scare you off from buying a new build or from buying something with a MUD or a PID, because honestly, they're all over the place, not just Dripping Springs, but just all around the suburbs of Austin. So before we take you out to any model home, or if we go out looking at new builds, the questions that I always ask the sales agent in there at the model is, okay, what is the tax rate? Does it have a PID? If it sounds too good to be true, like, oh, our tax rate's 1.5%, I'm always like, do you have a PID? And usually they're like, yes, we do. Okay, how much is that? What is the effective tax rate if that was rolled in? What are the amenities? How long, is the PID going to last? What's the payoff for it? So those are all things that you just want to figure out before you go in there and get excited and start looking at homes. Just make sure you have that information. So at the end of the day, MUDs and PIDs are not necessarily a bad thing. They're just part of the development process. Again, they're trying to make the home purchase price lower so you have all the beautiful amenities, the roads, the infrastructure, everything you need to enjoy your life in this brand new construction neighborhood. But we just want to make sure you understand everything before you sign a contract. Now, as always, if you have specific questions, you can contact me using the link in my caption to book a quick call. And if you want to explore some of our favorite communities in Dripping Springs, I've got full neighborhood tours on all the most popular master plan communities in there, both existing and new. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and check those out. I'm Shannon Mansion. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.